Hello everyone, welcome to Into Sports. I'm your host Evan. Today is January 29th, which means it is college football time. College football playoff starts today at 4 o'clock. Trying to get this video out to show my predictions, show what I think will happen at the 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock games today. So let's start off by talking about the Cotton Bowl. Played at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, where we have number 3, Notre Dame, 12-0, versus number 2, Clemson, 13-0. A battle of two undefeated teams, but that's something has to give tonight. One team will have one loss, and the 12.5 point favorite that Clemson is, Vegas is projecting that Notre Dame will be that team to leave Arlington with a loss. Clemson has a 71.4% chance to win this game, and it is a 56.5 point over-under. Now, some notable things about this game: Dexter Lawrence, Clemson's elite defensive tackle, a potential top 10 pick in next year's draft; Braden Galloway, a tight end; and Zach Giella, another offensive lineman. They're all suspended for this game for violating the NCAA banned substance rule. They failed their drug tests. They are not playing today. I do think that has a big impact on this game. But regardless, I'm going to take Clemson to win 41-30. So I'm taking the over. I'm taking Notre Dame on the spread. But I'm taking Clemson to win the game. This year, Clemson has averaged 45.2 points per game. Notre Dame, only 33.8 points per game. Clemson, we know, is a prolific offense. And both of these quarterbacks were not starters at the beginning of the year. Ian Book for Notre Dame was the second stringer behind Brandon Wimbush, and Trevor Lawrence was the second stringer behind Kelly Bryant, who is now not a part of the Clemson roster. Each of these backup quarterbacks who won out to be the starter, they're each a true passing quarterback. The two quarterbacks they succeeded were more runners and less passers. These guys, true pocket passers. But I think whoever establishes the run in this game will win. On the Clemson side of the football, Travis Etienne has been averaging 123.6 yards per game on the ground over the last 5. And he's had 3 games of 150 or more yards on the ground in that span, along with 7 touchdowns in 5 games. The absence of Dexter Lawrence, the defensive tackle for Clemson, is going to open up the running lanes for Dexter Williams, the running back for Notre Dame. Also, with the absence of Dexter Williams, I'm looking for Ian Book to have a cleaner pocket. He'll be able to step into throws with less interior pressure, and he'll have more time to throw the football. Clemson's main weakness as of late has been playing against air raid offenses. Their weaker secondary allowed Jake Bentley of South Carolina to throw for 510 yards and 5 touchdowns just 2 games ago. If Ian Book can have that success, Notre Dame's going to win this game. So especially with the absence of Dexter Lawrence, this Clemson secondary will really need to take a step up. But offensively, Clemson should be able to put points up on the board. They do have a slightly inexperienced quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, but his weapons, Hunter Renfrow out of the slot, T. Higgins and Amari Rodgers on the outside as perimeter receivers. Look for Travis Etienne in the run game to open it up deep for T. Higgins, Amari Rodgers, and on third down, Hunter Renfrow. Now I have Clemson winning by 11 points, but I expect this game to be close throughout the game until we get to the last 5 minutes of the game, where I think Travis Etienne rips off a long run that will ultimately seal it for the Tigers. Now the question is, who will play Clemson in the national championship game? That brings us to the 8 o'clock game, the Orange Bowl, in Hard Rock Stadium, Miami, Florida, home of the Miami Dolphins. Number 4, Oklahoma, 12-1, versus number 1, Alabama, 13-0. Oklahoma is the only team with a loss in this top 4 in this playoff. And because of that, Alabama is a 13.5 point favorite. They have a 73.3% chance to win this game. And it's a 78.5 point over-under. If you want to see points, make sure you tune into this one. In this game, Tua will play, but his ankle will not be 100%. He had surgery after the SEC Championship. And for Oklahoma, their quarterback Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert of Oregon, will opt to stay another year there. He will not enter the NFL draft, so this is Kyler's chance to potentially move up in the draft if he chooses to play football over baseball. Kyler Murray did win the Heisman. Tua was the runner-up, to many people's surprise. But even though he was the runner-up, Tua Tagovailoa and his Alabama Crimson Tide will win this game 48-42 in a very high-scoring one. Oklahoma is averaging 49.5 points per game, number one in the country. Alabama is averaging 47.8 points per game, number two in the country. I'm not expecting a lot of good defense in this one, especially out of the Oklahoma cornerbacks, Trey Norwood and Trey Brown, matched up against Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. Look for Jeudy and Ruggs to each have monster games in this one. Tua has torched bad defenses, but his bad games, his worst games, Tua doesn't really have very bad games. They've come against good defenses, very good defenses, like Georgia. Oklahoma is not a good defense. Expect him to light it up. Along with the fact that Oklahoma cannot tackle anyone, look for Damian Harris to have a big game on the ground. And Oklahoma's defense, they were historically bad. Then they fired defensive coordinator Mike Stoops, and they got even worse. So the Sooners are clearly going to have to put up points if they want to stay in this game with their horrendous defense. It's the worst pass defense in the country. But Alabama has been torched by running quarterbacks themselves. Johnny Manziel of Texas A&M, we all know him. Nick Marshall of Auburn a few years ago, Iron Bowl. And Cardell Jones of Ohio State. They've all torched Alabama, and they all are really good runners. Kyler Murray is averaging 68 yards on the ground this year. He has top-end speed, but the Oklahoma running backs, Trey Sermon, Kennedy Brooks, that committee, are going to have to try to run through Quinnen Williams, arguably the best defensive tackle in the country, and a candidate for the number one pick in the draft. So I'm expecting most of the Sooner production to be through the air with Marquise Brown and CeeDee Lamb. Even though it's a very good Alabama secondary, I expect them to show up in a big way, especially Marquise Brown. Bold prediction, he'll have over 150 yards in this game. Now, when I saw this 13.5 point line favoring Alabama, I was shocked. I thought it'd be about 6 or 7 because Oklahoma, they can score at will. They can't defend, but they can score at will. Alabama can score all they want, but are they going to be able to stop Oklahoma? Oklahoma's going to have to make 2 or 3 key stops in this game if it wants to be competitive, because they're not going to be able to score every time, and Alabama might be able to do that against this hideous defense. But I'm picking a close one, a very high-scoring game. I think that Tua will actually have to come back at the end of the game in the last 2 minutes, because I think it's back and forth, a high-scoring battle, and I think the Tide ultimately win it by 6. So just to recap, I'm picking Clemson to win 41-30 in a pretty tight game, but not as tight as Alabama. 48-42, I have them coming down to the last 2 minutes, Tua on a game-winning drive. Anyway, thank you for listening to my predictions. We'll see how they go, and I will definitely be making a prediction on the national championship game. So, if you'd like to hear that, I'd recommend subscribing to Into Sports. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. I'm out. Peace.